Right. So let's do part 3 of the live session at ultrabooknews.com, at ultrabooknews on Twitter, facebook.com/ultrabooknews. YouTube channel is actually under the name Steve Chippy, which is me, Chippy. So sign up, register, retweet, do whatever you can to help us. These sessions are not sponsored, which is one of the reasons we have fairly low quality video. It's all low quality analog stuff here, but anyway, you can help us. Maybe we'll get digital soon. Right, in this session I wanted to show you some stuff about the video performance. We'll look a little bit at the gaming and graphics performance, but first I want to mention a few things. Stability. So I had this for 48 hours now, haven't seen a single crash or single issue at all, so that's only 48 hours, but so far so good. Storage is a 64 gigabyte system here. Let me just switch the cam so you can look at something a bit more interesting than me. 64 gigabyte system here. You get about, it's difficult to tell, this wasn't a purely clean device when I got it, and it had about 59 gig is the actual partition size. There's no recovery partition. You're going to have about 50 gigs free once you've installed Windows 7. I've got a set of apps installed. I'm down to 20 gig on this. So that's very, very, very important if you're, for example, video editing on this, which you might be doing some, low-end 720p work maybe out in the field. And this device is totally capable of 720p editing. You might be a journalist on the move. You're going to have to think about external storage. The micro SD card slot on here is SDHC, of course, but I'm trying to confirm whether it supports XC as well, SDXC. That would be interesting if you could put a 64 gig micro SD in there, but bear in mind that storage is at a premium on this one. You're going to have to keep it clean. Webcam. Just to mention that it's okay. It's a 1.3 megapixel, so in theory it will do HD 720. It's got a Cyberlink UCam application with a load of sort of gimmicky features and effects on it. Can be fun for some Skype stuff, I guess. And I guess for Skype in brightly lit environments, this is going to be actually pretty good. Certainly the processing power is good enough for a decent Skype, high quality experience. So better than the VGA cam we saw on the UX21 for sure, but apart from the low light performance, which isn't much better than the UX21. The Bluetooth on here is Bluetooth 3 plus HS, so that almost matches the Bluetooth 4 on the UX21. The HS is part of the Bluetooth spec that allows the Wi-Fi to come into play. So the handshaking is done over the standard Bluetooth interface, and then Wi-Fi is used to transfer the rest of the data. I think that requires Wi-Fi Direct support. I'm not sure. So maybe the Wi-Fi card has Wi-Fi Direct support, but it doesn't support wireless display. It's a Broadcom BGN with 40 megahertz channel support on B and G. And I'm not sure if it can do 5 gigahertz frequency as well. But I also should mention that the quality of the Wi-Fi reception doesn't seem to be exceptional. It's average to lower than average, I would say, especially if you have the device in low power mode. It actually turns on all the power saving features of the wireless, so it probably reduces the transmit and receive power as well. If you put it to high power mode, it gets better. But if you're more than a couple of walls away from your hotspot, you might be noticing that this thing is dropping out quicker than other devices. For anyone that's going to conferences and battling over the local wireless, you're not going to be able to beat those Mac guys. They always get the Wi-Fi before anyone else anyway. So if you want to do that, get a Mac. Something I learned over the years doing conferences, and actually had confirmed by someone that was working in the Wi-Fi industry, that told me that there's some very nice little tricks that Apple seem to do with their Wi-Fi drivers that tend to cause Apples to be a little bit more dominant on the Wi-Fi than other devices might be. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I heard anyway. Right, so let's just do a quick file playback. I've got a 1080p file that I made with a camera yesterday. It's 180 megs in size. Let me see if I can quickly find it. And that's not it. It will be probably that one. 183 megabytes in size. I'm going to just copy it to the desktop, and you probably won't even see the counter come up. It's done. The file copy counter didn't even come up. So anything under 200 megs you're going to copy. It's just going to look like you're just moving it around without any copy at all. Big files copy at a huge rate. The write speed on this drive is really nice. It's not as good as the high-end ones that you'll find in some of the other Ultrabooks. 250 megabytes a second max read and write speed, I believe. Write might be a little bit less than that. But for small block sizes, it's actually very competitive with the best of the SSDs out there as well. It's a Samsung SSD in here, 64 gigs. Right, let's just fire that 1080p video up right now. We're in low power mode here, so battery saving mode. This is just a very basic video clip I did of my family using a 1080p, full 1080p camera, 30 megabits per second. Absolutely no problem, it will go full screen there. It's playing a 2-channel audio, and the CPU, just to bring that into the equation here, it should be running at around 12% CPU, which is what it needs to decode the audio. 10% there, 9%, 16, 13, 10. So that's the 1080p. That's almost Blu-ray type loads. Okay, Blu-ray is going to have a bigger audio load, so the CPU will be working a little bit harder than that. But that's all happening in hardware, the decode there, and yeah, if you're doing anything more than 30 megabits per second, wow, to start with, and then secondly, you're probably not interested in Ultrabooks anyway. Out of the box, Windows 7 obviously supports MPEG 2, MPEG 4 Part 2, which is like DivX XVID type MPEG 4, and then MPEG 4 Part 10, which is H.264, which is, you know, .movs, QuickTime, .h.264, whatever, and often inside MKVs, although out of the box it doesn't support MKV as a container. So because it's Windows, you can find all your codecs, no problem. There won't be any I don't think there's going to be any major process power issues. If you're using a video codec that's not supported in hardware on here, like what's the one inside, often inside Matroska, which is the open source OGG Vorbis. Anyway, something that's not supported in hardware, then you're going to see a bigger CPU load. But there's a fair dot of CPU here for you to play with. Really don't see any problems for video playback. HDMI works, 1080p video monitor, I've had that working. That seems okay. Right, so on staying with performance then, I just want to show you a couple of... actually, before I do that, I've got a couple of things in the background that I need to check if there's any direct messages here. Nope. We've got a chat session going on in the background for those of you that are watching this after the event. But I want to now bring up some performance results. Oops, I need to clean that USB stick. And let's have a look. Did that work? One second. Let me just try it in the USB 2 port here. Obviously that should work. It's a USB 2 stick. Oh, here we go. Right, just a couple of results then. Crystal Disk Mark result here. Let's bring you in on that one. So there's the Crystal Disk Mark. This is in high performance mode. It's much the same in low performance mode as well. 250 max read, 170 max write. But this 4K write speed is fantastic. 41 megabytes a second. That's exceptional actually, and probably beats the UX21. So really excellent disk. Let's look at Crystal Mark. Yes, it's not a very relevant test, I know, but nearly 100k on that. At least it's a good measure of, you know, LU, floating point, memory speed, HD speed. Ignore the graphics tests down there. They're old and don't really apply to the graphics that are on this. So 100k, it's actually pretty much like the Samsung Series 7 tablet I tried. PC Mark 7, 2508. So let's just get you the one for the UX21 up. PC Mark 7, mains, of course. So quite some differences here. 2508 on the UX31. Sorry, 2508 on the 900X1B. 3358 on the UX21. So that is Turbo Boost coming to play. It's the 1.7 gigahertz i7 coming into play there. Yeah, but do remember there is some hard disk tests in there that would have pushed the results up very high to a very high average. All right. I think it's time for some games, but I'm going to cut this part of the video short, and we'll do the games in another part of the video. But before we stop this video, I just want to mention some of the power figures we've had. We've lost during our testing since 2148, so 45 minutes. We lost 10%, so 450 minutes. Which is what, 8 hours? He reaches for his calculator, and it is hopefully 7.5 hours is what we're seeing here. We've been using it off and on. We haven't been putting a lot of load on it, and we're in battery saving mode. We've got a fairly low screen brightness, and we've got a Wi-Fi hotspot that's right behind us, so the Wi-Fi is not having to power up too much to access a remote hotspot. But 7.5 hours is actually more than I expected for this part of the tests. I would say in office working environments, it's going to be a 5-hour device. If you're doing anything fairly hefty with graphics or images and stuff, it obviously will go below that. If you're just typing text, 8 hours on this should be no problem. You'll just switch to Wi-Fi, carry on with your work locally. So that's the battery life test so far. It was only 45 minutes, but it does match with some of the tests I've done over the last 48 hours. Right, that's the end of part 3 of the live video of the Samsung 900X1B. Thanks for watching Ultrabook News. Check out part 5, where we're going to do some games tests.